we're kind of lucky. We have a nation that we have the ability to create laws, and we have the ability to enforce laws.
Yeah.
And I believe that we can be hard ass. So, badass, big ass, and hard ass. We can have our Congress actually pass a law that says you got 30 days to turn in an assault rifle. If you don't, you're going to jail for a year.
So welcome, everybody. I think we can all agree that the world has a significant number of big problems, right? And if you can solve any one of them, that's quite the accomplishment. Well, today's guest, Mitch Francis, has solutions for many of them. And we're talking big problems. In fact, he wrote a book called Badass Solutions for Today's Big Ass Problems. And these are some big ass problems. We're talking homelessness, immigration, mass killings, how to pay off the national debt, make public schools work, fix healthcare. I'm just going on and on. Stop the rising oceans. These are not small things. But this man claims to have the solutions. We're thrilled to have this conversation with him. Mitch, welcome to the show, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. It's great to be here.
So we're going to discuss some big ass problems and try to solve them in a second because that's what you do. But first, how did you learn how to solve problems like this?
Well, I have a very extensive business background. I was the founder and CEO of several public companies and private companies. I developed commercial real estate, still owned and managed commercial real estate all over the country. So I developed problem-solving skills. Anybody in business has got to have very good problem-solving skills. There are roadblocks thrown at you no matter what you want to do, just like daily. And if you can't figure out how to get over around them, through them, you're just not going to make it. So I do have these skills, and I applied them to our big ass problems today, and it really was not much different. And I was kind of excited by what I was able to come up with.
Is there a system that you use?
Yeah,
Like, do you do something methodical, or do you just look at the problem and solve it?
I kind of equate problem solving with the skills of negotiating or even sales. You have an objective. You clearly define what your objective is. I want to stop, the ocean levels from rising. Well, that sounds incredibly daunting, and then you start asking questions. Well, how much water is going in to the oceans? How much water's melting from the polar ice caps? And then it starts this exploration of statistics about all these different areas that you're going to need to come up with a solution, and then you start. Well, what if? What if we did this? Well, what if we did that? And God, that was dumb. But so
let's try something else. Yeah.
Keep going with what if, and when you along with negotiating or selling, and when you can make everybody happy, you probably have a solution that's going to work.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the what ifs for the rising oceans, since you brought that up?
Well, that was a fascinating journey, actually. But it's just an incredibly big problem.
Incredibly.
Last summer, just ended a few days ago, was the hottest summer in recorded history on the whole planet.
Really?
It was for the entire planet. We're headed toward a socioeconomic catastrophe of unheralded size. And the global warming is causing the polar ice caps to melt. And one of those great statistics I found is that it's melting at a rate that would fill 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools every second. That's a lot. That's a lot of water.
Wait, say that again. 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools
Every second.
Every second.
That's a lot of water.
Second.
Yeah.
By the end of this century, all coastal cities and islands are going to be flooded. And guys, nobody's doing anything about this, but we can. Along that path, I was able to find several of the what ifs, and we actually can stop the ocean levels from rising, and at the same time use all that fresh water for the billions of people living in the most parched areas of our planet. So it's just a huge win. In delving into this, I found that as huge that as that number is, the melting of the polar ice caps, filling 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools every second, it's actually just a small fraction of the water that's going into our oceans from just our 20 largest rivers. That was shocking to me. And I realized that if we channel just 7% of the water from our 20 largest rivers and move that water to the arid lands, we can actually stop the ocean levels from rising and also stop hunger and thirst on our planet. And it's very viable. It's kind of interesting. We actually have a model for this. For decades already, there's been an organization called the Central Arizona Project, and they've been channeling water from the Colorado River 336 miles to Phoenix and Tucson to serve fresh water, to 5 million people. And it's just this incredible success story. It's already been done. We can do this on a global level. So it's kind of rare that you not just solve a problem. This would solve the ocean levels from rising and save all the coastlines, all the islands. It's pretty incalculable. But we can also cure thirst and hunger. That's pretty big stuff.
It's very big
Seems
stuff.
like a no-brainer. Like, so what? So how? What do we what has to be done to get someone to say, "Okay, go"?
Well, I'm taking kind of a grassroots approach. I wrote the book, and I'm doing everything I can to get the word out. I've had a very, very good response about the book, and I'm hoping that people talk about it. People, get excited about one or more of the solutions and get involved. And it's as easy to get involved as telling other people, writing a letter to your representatives, joining organizations, that are, concerned with, whatever cause you're interested in. Here, it's global warming or the ocean levels rising. There are millions of organizations that desperately need help, and you can get involved. One of my favorite things about the book is this trying to get people involved. So it's not just the politicians. I'm not just waiting for Biden to call, but get involved, and we can all make a difference. There was a fantastic quote, and I'm real big into quotes. There was a fantastic quote by Mahatma Gandhi who said, "When the people lead, the leaders will follow."
That's cool.
And
Love it.
that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
So, what do you think what's the chink that they can throw in your armor there? Money or what? Like,
Money.
is it money?
For something like that, right? We don't have the resources and money to do something like that.
Budgets?
To redirect rivers, right?
And it might be couches.
Couches?
Get your ass off the couch and do it.
I don't know where we're going.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
That's great.
There's that.
So when you
How do we
find
do
out that
that?
answer, do you then give it to the governments or sell it to the governments and say,
Sell
look,
it.
do you want to know? Well, come on. I mean, he's got the answer that no one's been able to
Well,
get.
it's in his book. They can get the answer
Well,
pretty.
that's really why I wrote a book, because
Yeah.
it's funny. I kind of started out with an outline. I had no intention of writing a book,
Right.
and I started out with an outline because I have a lot of. I'm kind of a news hound, and I'm interested in current events and things going on, and very often I'll say, well, why don't they just do that?
Right.
And nobody's doing that. So
It's not okay.
I again took stock of myself and said, I really have ideas for many of these big problems, and I wrote down an outline, and there were 20 really big ass problems, and I had at least the beginnings of some ideas of solutions, and I went, this is a book. And that's 2 years ago, and that's where we are.
Amazing. So, but also you talk about, so my question is have political leaders reached out to you and said, okay, I see you have this idea, let's do it, especially for the polar ice caps. And I know you've said, people can't really figure out, are you left, are you right? And no one should, you don't want to say I am conservative, I am liberal. You just want to say, look, here is the solution. I mean, most of us are in the middle. Let's just face it. Not everybody is left or right. Most of us stand somewhere in the middle. So what's your theory on that?
Oh, no, I couldn't agree more. It's interesting that, Yeah, and I try very hard, to keep this balance, not to
Yeah.
be, political on this, not to be partisan on this. I just wanted solutions. I had no constraints of political parties. I had no constraints of money even. I don't care. What's it going to take to solve this? And it led me to I think really doable, viable solutions. And yeah, a lot of them are going to cost an awful lot of money, but even with stopping the ocean levels from rising, there's a return that is probably greater than the costs, and I mean like a financial return.
Since you brought that up as
Listen,
well.
people, listen, politicians. Let's go.
Wait a minute, President Biden.
Oh my God, you got a call.
I come with props.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
What's probably one of the easier solutions? I mean, that's very grand scale, right?
Yes.
That's rechanneling rivers, right, to arid lands. What's an easier one, a more attainable,
This is
quicker
big ass
one?
problems, though, Mark.
I know, but there's got to be levels to big ass problems, right?
Yeah, there are. But it also takes, will and commitment.
Sure.
You asked about assault rifles. We had a family catastrophe 2 years ago where you may recall there was a mass killing during a 4th of July parade in a suburb of Chicago. And my brother-in-law's brother was one of the 7 people who were killed.
Sorry.
Thank you. By this crazed young man with assault rifles. And, needless to say, the family was just devastated. And I left, beside being devastated, I left pissed.
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous already. There are 2 mass shootings every single day in the United States. This is like beyond crazy.
Yeah.
And, if we agree that we don't need assault rifles, we're not invading Canada. There's no reason for it. There are literally 20 million assault rifles in the United States.
I'm with you on this.
It's horrifying. So
who's stopping that? It's got to be the NRA. Who is saying we should? Oh, and you own a gun? Like, what do you like? What do you think? Sorry, I know I'm interrupting you, but
No, it is a big ass problem, right, for America that we have assault rifles in so many people's hands.
Why do we
but
need them?
It is in the Second Amendment. You're allowed to right and bear arms.
Assault rifles aren't in the Second Amendment.
Just the right to bear arms.
But it doesn't say that
It doesn't specify.
Can you have a bazooka?
Bazookas.
No, I don't think so.
Grenades.
I would love a bazooka.
See, this is the issue. Is this why these problems aren't being
Who
solved
wouldn't
right
love
here?
a bazooka? Come on.
This is it.
No.
My chapter is entitled "A Bazooka for High School Graduation Present"
Nice.
Wow.
for this. So yeah, it's got
Okay,
me.
how do we solve this, Mitch?
So it's tough because you have guys like Mark who don't want to give up their assault rifle.
You haven't. I realized you had an assault
I do not
rifle.
currently own an assault rifle.
So, but it's going to take us to say we don't need this. Nobody's got to shoot a deer 500 times in 13 seconds. You don't need an assault rifle for that. You don't need to defend your house with an assault rifle or go to the grocery store and in case somebody starts shooting. You just don't need that. But they are grossly misused. They're a military weapon that really don't belong in the hands of civilians. So if we actually just get this consensus, we want to stop this. Well, we're kind of lucky. We have a nation that we have the ability to create laws, and we have the ability to enforce laws. Yeah. And I believe that we can be hard ass. So, badass, big ass, and hard ass. We can have our Congress actually pass a law that says you got 30 days to turn in an assault rifle. We know where they all are. Probably 99.9% of them were purchased legally. They were registered. They were bought by a gun store. They know who has them. Turn in. You got 30 days. The government will completely refund your money. We bite that bullet. That's okay. Wait, that's a bad analogy. You turn in your assault rifles, and guess what? If you don't, you're going to jail for a year.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a politically heated issue for sure. It's a slippery slope in the eyes of the other side.
Why is that slippery slope?
If the other side, the I guess conservative or the gun owner side is that is a slippery slope. You're
take away the AKs,
You're
then they can take
taking
away the
away
shotguns.
one, then
they
you can
take-
redefine something else as
it's
a
different.
semi-automatic is now an assault
I
rifle.
know.
I'm just saying that's why it is a big ass problem. I mean, it sounds great on paper, but I think the problem is people don't trust the government. End of story. And if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. That's the vibe that you have nowadays in the government. And whatever. We don't
We
need
do not
necessarily
need
to get
assault
political.
rifles. I am with Mitch. Bye.
And that is the end of that topic.
No, keep going.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Let's actually move on to another one because I want to. There's so many. There's so many. I'd love to
Homeless.
to cover. Oh, that's a good one.
Want that one?
How do you? I would love to hear how you fix
Yeah,
that.
Mitch. How do we fix our homeless?
So many of your big ass problems, I look at and say it's unfixable. It's too big to be fixed. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well,
Like the homeless.
With that attitude.
I think your perspective.
That's fair.
I think your perspective may be giving you some roadblocks.
For
in
sure.
that. And I'm not being critical at all. I'm just saying, you, like many of us, say, Jesus crap, we can't do this. We're not going to trust the government, and the government's going to overreach, so let's not do anything.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen. But if we have a will for things to happen,
They'll happen.
I mean, it was enough of a will, they can happen. It's like that Gandhi quote of, we can lead the politicians.
Right.
So let's, get a groundswell. There are all kinds of really great solutions if we put our mind to it. We can make public schools better than private schools. And we need it's going to take, a hard ass movement to make that happen, but we need to. My idea for public schools is
go.
and very doable. So in my view, this is one of the biggest problems we have in our country. This chasm between the wealthy and the poor is, in my view, this perpetuates because of the inequity of education. That the people who are wealthy and care the most, maybe that's not quite right, but the people who are wealthy enough to send their kids to private schools do that. And a private school education, for the most part, is really going to beat out a public school education. You go out for jobs, and somebody who's had, been at a college prep, that costs $30,000 to $50,000 a year, and gets them like a college education before they graduate, 12th grade, is going to be miles ahead of 99% of public school kids. And there are some great public schools. There are and there are parents who really care about public schools. But what we've done by having private schools is we've taken the people with the resources and the interest in education completely out of the public school system. So you want to talk badass? Make it illegal to have private schools. Can't happen. Can't happen.
Wow. That is a big
Let me
one.
tell you something. It's very doable. The founding fathers of our country put such an incredible importance on equal opportunity.
Yeah.
That was the idea, that was to make our country, and ultimately even capitalism and democracy, the idea was we all start at the same starting line. And the founding fathers, and it was actually led, this movement of this was actually led by John Adams. He said it's the public schools that are the insurance policy for the success of this country and the equal opportunity for all people. Now, he said all men. So when they said all people, but now
Right.
we expand that,
Sure.
that definition. But
Sure.
if everybody, all of us, has that kind of opportunity in education, and there are no private schools for the rich to perpetuate a landed aristocracy, we have that today.
Interesting.
Then our country's going to be so much better off.
That's
That is
interesting. That's kind of controversial.
Yeah, that is a bold solution. I love that.
That's big ass.
I'm not talking about the merit of it, but the fact that you went there and said, let's just ban them, that is badass.
See, now this is like,
I like the thinking.
this
That's
is
what I'm
different
saying.
thinking.
I love that.
So what about homelessness?
But yeah, how do you solve it? What's your badass solution for homelessness?
Again, in kind of examining the problem, it's like, what's the scale here? What's the size here? There are right now roughly 500,000 homeless people in the United States. 500,000 people sounds like an enormous number. And we're a country now of 335 million people. So it's fascinating when you really put that homeless number
Wow.
in perspective. It becomes 17% of 1% of the US population is homeless
Wow.
on the streets. It's a tiny number.
It's not as big
Relative
as you thought it was, Mark. Yeah.
relative to 335 million people. That
Sure.
really, how's that? We don't think of it that way, but that's the number. You can do the math. Anyway,
I probably can't, but
if
go
we
ahead.
said we're this great society and we need to help people who need help. These people are on the street. They're often mentally ill. They're often drug addicted. They're even veterans who don't have a place to go. They're handicapped people. It's people who really need help. And I found that, well, how much is that going to take? If we house people, get them the mental health, the educational help, get them possibly trained into being, a participant in the society. So education, all of this structural help that they need. How much is that going to cost? Is it $25,000 per person a year? Well, that number is $14 billion. $14 billion is a rounding error on our government. The government's spending that in like 6 hours a day. So even if we made it twice that number, 50,000, 75,000, we have that money. We can put that to work to really help people and create this infrastructure of helping people, of housing, of education, of food, of medical care, of re-education, all of that. And throughout my book, there's an interesting thread, I think, of all of these people who need to work. That artificial intelligence is going to be putting people out of work. We have immigrants who are here and not working. You have all kinds of people who really need to work. Here's an amazing idea to facilitate jobs to help all those homeless people now be housed and fed and taken care of. It's a big solution, and it's one that I think as a great country we need to do. Maybe the homeless people are trained to
help
do
others
jobs where they live, to do the gardening, to do the wash dishes, to serve food, whatever it is, but get everybody productive if they can, and helping.
Yeah, I mean, you have to ask.
It's pie in the sky, but when you talk about needing a solution, there is a solution.
And that solution's been discussed, right? Why are we sending tens of billions of dollars to support wars when a fraction of that can end homelessness, for instance? So why is that happening? If it is, that's a relatively easy solution from a dollar standpoint, right? So what stops it? Is it the politics? Is it corporate greed?
Well, I think the administration of it is enormous. The operations of anything is the most difficult in any business. Even, listen, ideas are easy. I always told people, who worked with me in companies, ideas are easy. We can come up with those all day long. But it's the operations that are difficult. Running the business, making sure that everything is done properly and servicing whoever or whatever you need to serve. That's the tough part. So here's this great idea. We can throw money at this problem and really take care of it. But then it gets down to the administration, the operational effort of making that happen is enormous. And I don't want to minimize it, but it's going to take a lot of commitment from a big portion of our government to do this.
Yeah.
We have time for one more? Yeah.
Oh, we have time. I have a couple I want to ask.
Yeah, go ahead. Go. You go.
So this is a hotly debated topic, but I like the way you phrased it. You have a solution. I believe you phrased it. You have a big ass solution for abortion that will appease and appeal to both sides.
Wow.
That sounds impossible.
Yeah.
Because it's such a polarizing issue. What is your
It really
badass
is.
solution?
Yeah,
It's really not. Oh, I
we've
love it.
effectively been in a civil war in our country over this issue for 50
Okay.
years.
Yep.
We've been in a civil war in our country over this issue for 50 years. And I discovered, along with my methodology for finding solutions, I discovered an incredible statistic that was issued by the Centers for Disease Control, our CDC, of the US government. And that statistic was that 94% of all abortions in the United States occur in the first 15 weeks of gestation. Really? So it just so happens that 15 weeks, and I did a lot of research on this, is pretty much accepted by both sides as, well, a woman could probably find out she's pregnant and wait what she needs to do for her family and her life, and decide if she needs an abortion in that time and get an abortion. And the pro-life side says, yeah, it's really not a viable life until then. And if we had to use that awful word, compromise, we could probably get there. We have this civil war going on over less than 6% of all abortions.
Wow.
Yeah.
We could solve this by saying abortions are okay within the first 15 weeks of gestation, and that the remaining 6%, and that also includes rape and incest. So less than 6% of abortions fall outside this compromise.
If you can get the compromise.
In my career, I've hardly ever seen, I don't think I've ever seen a business compromise or any kind of compromise where you're going to satisfy 94%. It's stunning.
Yeah.
And we can do that.
I think it's a zero-sum game for both sides, though, right? It's a woman's right to choose versus the protection of her life, and the life is no less valuable at 14 weeks than it was at 15 weeks, at 13 weeks. So I don't know that you'll ever get agreement.
We never get there.
It's an ideological civil war.
We never get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So either we agree that there's a compromise that all of us have to bend over a bit and solve 96% of the demand for abortion.
Yeah.
How could that not be reasonable?
What's the hottest issue right now? Is it the Israeli-Palestine war? Is that too hot to talk
Cell
about?
phones in school. I hear that all the time now.
know.
Cell phones in high school. They're trying to ban them, and the kids are going bananas.
Nah, that's crazy. You can't ban cell phones.
Yes, you can. You can't have them in class.
Here, now solve this problem, because she believes one side, I believe
No,
the
you
other.
do not have cell phones in class. What do they need them for? Who are they calling? They're calling DoorDash.
Well,
I was hearing recently that in high
They're
school,
calling
the
DoorDash.
biggest problem is kids are calling DoorDash
I love it.
and having it
they have
delivered to the
eat.
school.
They have to eat lunch.
So how are they even able to call DoorDash? Because they have cell phones in their pockets. No cell phones.
Several of my
Steady.
son's teachers collect phones when they walk in. Others say you must put it in your bag. And others, they don't care. I think it should be left to the schools. This sounds like a
No,
political
let me
issue.
talk to Mitch, because Mitch has solutions. Go, Mitch.
All right, go, Mitch.
Well, listen, I have to tell you, I don't do solutions off the cuff. I actually research, try to figure stuff out. No, I do.
Come on, you're smart. You can figure it out.
I don't want to wink out on this, but I really do some effort, coming up with solutions.
Fine.
I do. Well,
That's fine.
Who are you leaning more towards, though, me or Mark?
always.
I think there's so many factors.
Oh, look, he's going to be right in the middle.
No, it's fine.
All right, fine.
Let's
Have
go
any
with
solution.
let's
go to another one that he
let's
has in the
go
book.
with something that
Is in the book.
is really hard. How do you stop gangs in America? And gang violence, gang wars.
Well, that's a very long answer.
What's your outline?
Let me kind of throw something to you.
Yeah.
What is the business of gangs in the United States right now?
Drugs.
Human trafficking and
Drugs
drugs.
and human trafficking. Yeah.
All right. What would happen if tonight drugs are legal? We fought a 50-year war on drugs
Right.
and never went to war.
Right. And it didn't work.
It didn't
Right.
work. We spent $1 trillion, literally, and it didn't work. So you've got you've got, it's kind of like how prohibition was. They couldn't stop alcohol during
Right.
prohibition. They haven't stopped drugs.
Right.
Drugs are illegal, but any eighth grader can go get any drugs he wants on any street corner in the United States. So the fact that they're illegal is not stopping their use. If anything, it's increasing their use because you have a pusher. You have people whose business it is to continue to sell that kid drugs. So if you make drugs illegal, and there's a much bigger answer, okay? But
Sure.
in the interest of
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
if you take the main business of gangs and stop that ability for them to be in that business, you've done an awful lot to cripple the gangs
Right.
and the crime that comes with gangs. And then you can go to work stopping the gangs and rounding them up and moving them out.
Got it.
But until you get rid of the profit motive
Right.
from drugs, not going to happen.
I like your point. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely
Yeah.
so much
These
food
are
for thought
hard
here.
Answers, okay? They're
Yeah.
hard answers, but they're answers.
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
That's what makes
You
reading
might
the
not
book so
want to
interesting.
do it.
Yeah.
You might not want to punish your kid by taking away their cell phone for a week, but it might be the right thing to do.
It's more punishment for the
Wow,
parents
Mitch.
sometimes. Amen to that.
Wow. Are you going to run for office or something? Like maybe you should
No
run for
way.
office. Come on.
No way.
People who
Thanks.
solve problems should be in office. That is a challenge.
It's never happened before.
Yeah.
No,
That's funny.
I absolutely no political ambition now. I would turn it down in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Okay,
but,
fine.
Yeah.
But I
No,
like the position
I
you
like the side
serve.
of the table. Go do this.
Get this
Yeah.
done and spend your money.
Yeah, yeah.
What's next for you?
Well, I've got topics for another book, but
Nice.
Okay.
I'd really like to see if this can reach some critical mass.
Yeah.
And if not, then it's just a waste of time, I think. But I'm very hopeful. I hope people read it and talk about it and tell other people. At least there's something to think about here.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, your book was a #1 bestseller, right? And top release because it's a fascinating
Yeah.
read. That was great.
Well,
I don't
so
think we
how can
just keep
people
going,
find you,
but-
reach you? How can we get people on the movement? Obviously they have to buy your book, so we have to go to your website. What else?
Well, they just go to Amazon or any bookseller, and it's Badass Solutions.
Badass
You look up Mitch Francis, and they'll find it,
Yeah.
Okay.
and help make some change that we really need.
Love it.
When we read these solutions, then we should contact our political offices. Like, how can we make these
Yeah,
happen?
call Mitch.
He doesn't want to run for office. I already asked him.
They're calling. Actually, the final chapter is how to get involved.
Amazing. I love that.
The final chapter is so now what?
Yes.
And I think I put forth some ideas for how people really can get involved. Get off the goddamn couch. Can we say that?
Yep. Yes.
And,
You just did.
We like cursing.
and do something. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, you've had a lot of guests who have written a lot of books, and this is definitely one that matters
Yes.
a lot. So definitely
Thank
read.
you for this. Thank you
Badass
for solving
Solutions.
the world's problems for us.
Yeah,
That's so nice of you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
that's
really
great.
enjoyed this. Thank you.
for
For
sure.
being here.
And thank you guys for watching. We will see you very soon.